Welcome to the morning show that's ghetto as hell. Till I can get a new computer and be able to hardwire in, this is what you get. So let me see here. Let me see. Who is in my chat so far? Good morning, Neil. Good morning, Sir Wolfie. We lost a couple of people, looks like. Let's see if we can gain some more along the way. I do have a couple of announcements. On my website, I actually added patron levels. This is because in August, I am getting ready to delete my Patreon. It's sort of like in a small protest. I don't know, Rhetorical, but good morning. I just clicked on participants and I did not see you, so I do not know. And if... Hey, Jason. Yeah, in August, I'm going to do the last withdrawal on Patreon, and I'm going to close my Patreon page. So I do have patron links on my website that you can go to and support me as a patron if you're not a content creator, or if you are, depending on which perks you want. I'm doing this sort of out of protest, mainly because, Lauren Southern got her page taken down because they said that she was inciting violence. However, they still have the Patreon up for the people that are promoting violence, actually, the Antifa people. So I'm like, as long as they're on Patreon, I don't want anything to do with them. And Patreon also takes 30% of whatever patrons want to contribute. So there's that as well. Those of you who follow Twitter probably saw the little bit of drama that happened over the weekend between Sargon of Akkad, Christy Winters, and Christiosity, which led to Christiosity getting her Twitter suspended temporarily for about 12 hours. This led to Sargon making a video explaining what happened as he was responding to someone named Noel, and Ranting Monkey saying something about it, and then one of my Hangout people, A Hair Duelist in Discord, did a response to it this morning. This is my 2 cents. In Sargon's video, he says they have been on his ass, Chrissy and her group, for 2 years, nonstop. And now these malicious things are being said about him in print, which could actually cause him bodily harm. The tweet that they're showing that Christiosity sent to Sargon was, in essence, in the spirit of the law, harassment. He was using the terms of service, got her suspended for 12 hours. Am I in agreement with what he did? Yes. It is harassment. It was against the terms of service. And for him to put up with it for so long, for 2 years, before he finally had it and actually reported somebody for this kind of abuse in his direction, to me, he's got the patience of a saint to wait this long. Because if somebody would have started harassing me out the gate and hounding me constantly, or having her friends, well, not having her friends, now I'm sounding like an SJW, and her friends doing the same thing, I think I would have lost my temper long before this. My patience would have long run thin, especially since, he doesn't tell people to go harass other people. As a matter of fact, he tells them not to. He doesn't condone that kind of behavior. They keep saying he does. They haven't been able to find any proof asserting that he does, which is really frustrating for him and anybody else. There was an article about Lauren Southern in the article. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If it does become a regular thing, just DM it on my Discord and I will add it to my mentions before I end the show. Oh, yeah, exactly. Exactly. You got to ignore the politics of it and look at the terms of service. Did Christiosity break the terms of service saying that she was going to remind him of this every day for the rest of his life? Yes. Is that harassment? Yes. Exactly. SJWs think they can do whatever the hell they want. Is that sad? Yeah, to me it's a very, very sad state of fucking affairs. But there you have it. They think they can do whatever they want without consequence. But when a consequence befalls them, oh, Lord have mercy. They start screeching and crying and whining and bitching because it happened to them. I'm sorry. But this reminds me of an old phrase. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you think when we're harassing you, when we're not harassing you, that we're harassing you and you report us, when you actually harass us, we can report you. Now, will this start a flagging war like Noel was scared of in the response video that Sargon did? It may or may not. If it does, hopefully it'll bring to Twitter's attention what the hell they've been trying to do with their wrong speak rules and, you know, their harassment rules and things of that nature, and hopefully relook at their TOS. Because if not, their platform is slowly dying. Because, you know, they can report us all day long, but we have to jump, through a lot of hoops to report them. And that's my 2 cents. I was going to do a video on the whole Sargon thing, but I figured it wasn't going to take that to present my case. And those of us on Twitter have seen the tweets. We've seen the argument. We've seen the back and forth. Those of us that follow Sargon have seen the video. So I figured I'm just going to verbalize it here on my morning brew before I get on with the news. And speaking of the news, the first case with the picture of the semi is titled Court Case for Suspect Smuggling Immigrants. This is San Antonio AP, and I'm drinking water because my bronchitis is making me cough a lot, and I'm trying not to do that on mic. All right, San Antonio AP. 9 people are dead and the death toll could rise after emergency crews pulled dozens of people from a sweltering tractor trailer found parked outside a Walmart in the midsummer Texas heat. Victims of what officials said was an immigrant smuggling attempt gone wrong. The driver was arrested and nearly 20 others taken from the rig were hospitalized in dire condition, many with extreme dehydration and heat stroke, officials said Sunday. Authorities were called to the San Antonio parking lot late Saturday or early Sunday and found 8 people dead inside the truck. The 9th victim died at the hospital, said Liz Johnson, spokeswoman for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Based on initial interviews with survivors, the San Antonio tragedy, more than 100 people may have been packed into the back of the 18-wheeler at one point during its journey. ICE Acting Director Thomas Homan said. Officials said 39 people were inside when rescuers arrived, and the rest were believed to have escaped or hitched rides to their next destination. 4 of the survivors appeared between 10 and 17 years old. Homan said investigators gave no details on where the rig began its journey or where it was headed. Let me get back to the, there's the truck. All right, let me see. But Homan said it was unlikely the truck was used to carry the immigrants across the border into the United States. He said people from Latin America who rely on smuggling networks typically cross the border on foot and then are picked up by a driver. A Guatemalan official said 2 natives of Central American country were among those hospitalized. Consul Christy Adreno in McAllen said the 2 told her they had crossed into the U.S. on foot and were later picked up by the rig. Yes, it is. It is a huge problem. Federal prosecutors said James Matthew Bradley Jr., 60, of Clearwater, Florida, was taken into custody and would be charged Monday in federal court. The local U.S. Attorney's Office wouldn't say whether Bradley was the alleged driver of the truck who was arrested. It was not immediately known whether Bradley had an attorney who could speak on his behalf. The truck had an Iowa license plate and was registered to Pile Transportation Incorporated of Shaler, Iowa. The company official did not immediately respond to phone message seeking comment. San Antonio is about a 150-mile drive from the Mexican border. The temperature in San Antonio reached 101 degrees, which is 38 degrees Celsius, on Saturday and didn't dip below 90 degrees or 32 degrees Celsius until after 10 p.m. Now, this is outside the 53-foot trailer. The tragedy came to light after the person from the truck approached a Walmart employee and asked for water. The investigators checked store surveillance video, which showed vehicles arriving and picking up people from the truck, authorities said. Walmart released a brief statement Sunday saying it was doing what it could to help investigators. Those gathered held a moment of silence, then gave speeches blaming federal and Texas authorities' embrace of harsher immigration policies for contributing to the deaths. Who didn't see that one coming? Jonathan Ryan, executive director of a nonprofit called Raíces, said, an unfortunate example of what happens when such policies are enacted. A new law approved by the Texas legislature lets police inquire about people's immigration status during routine interactions like traffic stops. Bill is executive director of Grassroots Leadership, an Austin-based nonprofit that supports more liberal immigration policies. Quote, these tragedies are compounded when it's incredibly dangerous and incredibly expensive, and we push immigration into the hands of illicit actors, unquote. It is a terrible way to die. I agree, Jason. Leibel told the AP in a phone interview, quote, everyone's thoughts today should be not in politicizing it, but making sure that everyone who survived this ordeal is treated with respect and get the protection they need, unquote. The Border Patrol has reported at least 4 truck seizures this month in and around Laredo, Texas. On July 7th, agents found 72 people crammed into a truck with no means of escape, the agency said. They were from Mexico, Ecuador, Guatemala, and El Salvador. Authorities in Mexico have also made a number of such discoveries over the years. Last December, they found 110 immigrants trapped and suffocating inside a truck after it crashed while speeding in the state of Veracruz. Most were from Central America, 48 were minors. Some were injured in the crash. Last October, also in Veracruz State, 4 immigrants suffocated in a truck carrying 55 people. No, it's not the harsher policies. Yeah, exactly. It's the desire to break the law regardless of how restrictive those laws that cause the tragedy. I completely agree. And for those of you that do not know, the picture of this particular truck depicts what is called a refrigerated unit truck, but apparently the refrigerated unit, after reading it, the actual refrigeration unit part that would normally put cold air into the 53-foot space was not working. Giving you even more context. So just imagine 100 people being in a 53-foot space. No refrigerated air there because you can control the climate inside that 53-foot trailer with that refrigerated unit that is in the front of that particular box, but they didn't have it on. So now you've got 100 people in 101-degree weather, ambient temperature outside this particular trailer, which probably reached temperatures in excess of 170 degrees inside, in the middle of Texas. These people died of heat stroke, heat exhaustion, suffocation. Exactly. Coyotes don't care if their cargo makes it to the destination. They just care about the money they're making. Exactly. Exactly rhetorical. And, you know, instead of blaming immigration, instead of blaming the immigration laws, because we need, in my opinion, we need stricter border laws. We need more people on those borders. We need more people intercepting the illegal immigrants coming in. There are legal ways to come into this country. Yes, they take a while, but they're put there for a reason, for a purpose. And they need to be followed. They need to be respected. Because we all know that if we were to try and illegally cross the border from here to Mexico, as soon as they caught us, we'd either be jailed or shot, depending on if they thought we were a threat, or a combination of both sooner or later if the U.S. couldn't get us back to our home territory. Closer to my goal. Thank you, Wolfie. $2. Thank you. All right, next story is Next story is going to be... Oh, come on, computer. Thank you. Work with me. All right, let's see here. World. All right. That's not the story. This is a timeline, and I usually read those on other live streams, and I may do that tonight. All right. See, shooting it complicates progress with shrine crisis. This is this morning's story, out of Jerusalem. That's all right. Every little bit helps. Jerusalem AP. A deadly shooting at Israel's embassy in Jordan further complicated Israeli government efforts on Monday to find a way out of an escalating crisis over a major Jerusalem shrine, including mass Muslim prayer protests and Israeli-Palestinian violence. The shooting, in which an Israeli security guard killed 2 Jordanians after being attacked by one of them with a screwdriver, led to a diplomatic standoff between the two countries at a time when Jordan is heavily involved in efforts to defuse the crisis over the Jerusalem holy site. Jordan is the Muslim custodian of the shrine, which is also holy to Jews. Jordanian officials said Monday that the guard could only leave after an investigation, according to a news site linked to Jordan's military. Israel insisted the guard has diplomatic immunity. This is Netanyahu. Netanyahu said that Jordan's ambassador to Israel came to foreign ministry earlier Monday to help solve the crisis. Let me see. Mideast envoy, Jason Greenblatt, is headed to the Holy Land today to help with the situation, if he can. I personally think we should keep our nose out of it, but that's just me. The escalation began earlier this month. There goes my voice. When Arab gunmen fired from the holy site, killing 2 Israeli policemen. Israel installed metal detectors at the site, a move that incensed the Muslim world. Thank you. Excuse me. The shooting at Israel's embassy in the Jordanian capital of Amman could further inflame Jordanian public opinion against Israel. Oh, these people have been fighting for centuries, decades, centuries. I think everybody's lost count at this point. Israel's foreign ministry said the incident began when 2 Jordanian workmen arrived at the building to replace furniture. It said one of the workers, later identified as 17-year-old Palestinian origin, attacked an Israeli security guard with a screwdriver. The guard opened fire, killing the teen. The second Jordanian, the owner of the building, who was also a physician, was hit by gunfire and later died of his wounds. The guard was lightly hurt, the ministry said. Jordan refused to let the guard leave without an investigation. Let me see here. Where am I? Israel's foreign ministry did not refer to Jordanian demands, but said the guard enjoys diplomatic immunity under international conventions. An Israel government official said talks were underway whether to evacuate the embassy staff given tensions in Jordan. So we got to keep an eye on Jordan to see if tensions rise, to see if they wind up having to empty out the embassy. The father of the slain teen on Monday called for an investigation and said he would not bury his son until he was shown security camera footage of the incident. Israel's security cabinet met from late Sunday until the early hours of Monday to discuss the crisis at the shrine and the embassy shooting, and was to convene again Monday afternoon. Netanyahu said Israel is in regular contact with security and government officials on all levels in Amman to bring as speedy a resolution as possible to the event. Israel and Jordan signed a peace deal in 1994, but the agreement remains deeply unpopular in the kingdom, where many residents are of Palestinian origin. Jordan and Israel have close security ties, but frequently clash over Israeli policies at the Jerusalem shrine. The Security Cabinet reached no decision after a 6-hour meeting on how to defuse the crisis over the Jerusalem shrine, Israeli media said. The ministers were reportedly reviewing the initial decision on installing the metal detectors and weighing possible alternatives. Muslim religious leaders have alleged that Israel is trying to expand its control at a site under the guise of security, a claim Israel denies. The tensions have led to mass prayer protests and deadly Israeli-Palestinian violence. Ikrama Sabri, a senior Muslim cleric, said Monday that Jerusalem's police chief Yoram Halevy met earlier with lawyer representing the Muslim leadership to discuss solutions to the crisis. Good morning, Futter. Sabri said newly installed security cameras described in the media reports as a possible alternative to the metal detectors were discussed. In another sign of the tense atmosphere, a Palestinian assailant stabbed an Arab citizen of Israel in the neck in central Israel, apparently mistaking him for a Jew. Police said the assailant was detained. The 37-acre walled compound is the third holiest site of Islam after Mecca and Medina in Saudi Arabia. It is also the holiest site of Jerusalem, revered as the place where biblical temples once stood. So now we've got, we got to keep an eye on Jordan to see what's going on, to see if they can defuse the situation. From an American standpoint, since I'm not from there, I have never been there, and I don't really know about the politics. All I know is what I can find online as to what's going on between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Is that they have been at this for a while. They have either been at their throats in ceasefire, in truces, and it's just one thing or another. And as far as metal detectors are concerned, if there is a need for the metal detectors, if it would have stopped this attack, then I don't see any problems with the metal detectors. But then again, there's the iffy notion that the metal detectors are going to be on the holy site, and they may mar what the holy site looks like. So there is always that one there. All right, next story is in politics. Sometimes it takes a while to find content, Wolfie. Digging through the dumbest articles and finding the trending on YouTube can be a task. But once you find that one story, you know you've got it. All right. Yes, it's her. Companies rebrand all the time. So why can't the Democrats do it? And yeah, I'm rolling my eyes. And this isn't even the article I'm supposed to be rolling my eyes at, but here we go. Democrats try their hand at rebranding for midterms. Washington AP. Democratic leaders believe they lost to President Donald Trump partly because voters don't know what the party stands for. So they're trying to rebrand themselves with a new slogan and a populist new agenda as they look ahead to the 2018 midterms. Let me repeat that part. A new slogan and a populist new agenda as they look ahead to the 2018 midterms. They're calling it a better deal. Democrats think of themselves as the party of working people and were surprised when Trump was able to steal working class voters from them. Yeah, exactly. But, they're in abject denial, and the cognitive dissonance is strong with this party at this point. Yeah, new. Exactly, new. They subsequently figured out that voters don't know what the party stands for, and the new effort is aimed at changing that, hence the rebranding. When you lose an election with someone who has, say, 40% popularity, you look in the mirror and say, what did we do wrong? And the number one thing we did wrong is we didn't tell people what we stood for. This is from Chuck Schumer on ABC's This Week. So they're still clueless as to why they lost. We all know why they lost. They just don't want to admit it. Detailed planks will be rolled out over time. On Monday, 3 are being unveiled. The first one being lowering prescription drug prices. Suggestions include a new agency that could investigate drug manufacturer price hikes, and they would allow Medicare to negotiate directly for the best drug prices. In other words, more money out of our goddamn pocket for something that's probably not going to work. Cracking down on corporate monopolies, Democrats would enact new standards to limit large mergers and create a new consumer competition advocate. More money out of our pocket. Creating millions more jobs. The agenda includes proposals for expanding apprenticeships and providing a tax credit to employers to train and hire new workers. Democrats hope to make gains in next year's midterm elections and perhaps even flip the 24 GOP-held seats necessary to regain the majority in the House. Yet they are mostly playing defense in the Senate, where 10 Democrats are trying to retain seats won by Trump, including Republican strongholds like West Virginia, Missouri, and North Dakota. Yeah, they're never going to admit that that's why they lost. They're never going to admit exactly, in bigger government control. More money out of our pocket, bigger government, and more regulations. Yeah, we could be worse. Actually, let me see if I can find that article again. You guys are going to get a kick out of what their slogan actually is supposed to be. Let me see if I can find it in here. It looks like my Kindle is going just about as slow as everything else. Let me see. Here we go. The future title of the agenda. Hold on to your hats for this one. A better deal, better jobs, better wages, better future. And if you didn't think this didn't leak early, remember, this is the internet. After an earlier and incomplete version leaked on Thursday, Twitter users, God bless Twitter trolls, mocked the similarity to the slogan for Papa John's Pizza: better ingredients, better pizza. Let me read that slogan again. A better deal, better jobs, better wages, better future. They're trying so hard to be relevant, it hurts. I swear to God, they're trying so hard to be relevant, it hurts. When all they have to do is admit that they fucked up with the identity politics. We don't want bigger government, but they can't seem to see that. They don't seem to understand that in any way, shape, form, or fashion. They really don't. They don't want to see it. They think, as a lot of the young kids say nowadays, their shit don't stink. When most of us are walking around like this. All right, let's get on with the shout out, shall we? Oh, cross your fingers and hope this loads relatively quickly. My computer hasn't been liking me this morning. I came across him solely by accident during the whole Onision thing before Joy Sparkle, where, you know, he was being accused of, well, where he was looking at girls' bodies. Let's get this right. Well, this is Comics Explained, so we're going to go through this next guy. My brain isn't even working. I'm glitching. Maybe I can go back and edit this and re-upload it. Who knows? Comics Explained. It's not often that I don't use reliable sources that aren't video to refute certain arguments. But when it comes to anything comic book, I use this channel. This channel. He makes everything succinct. He explains everything that, you know, about the comic books that he's covering at the time. And he is just really, he's a really good channel. And if you don't know who Comics Explained is, you don't know what you're missing out on. All right, next one. This is the guy I've recently... It's a really good channel. And if you don't know who Comics... Would you shush? All right, this is the guy I have recently found. His name is Elvis The Alien. And whenever the page decides to load, it can load. He is funny, he's succinct, he's precise in what's going on, and I just like watching him. He's really entertaining. He is a response channel. He's also kind of like, he's really snarky. He's a smartass. I kind of like smartasses. Hello, No Name, how are you? I kind of like smartasses over here. Not yet, Father Yours is coming, though. I know, I stopped it. The frickin' computer thought that I had unmuted my original stream. I hope I'm not echoing anymore, because I don't like it either. Let me see. So, Elvis the Alien. Here he is. He's really cool to watch. Next one. Which one did I click on? I can't remember anymore. Oh, yeah. Independent Man. He's Australian. He talks about Australian issues, and he also responds to stupid shit on the internet like the rest of us. His current video is going over the Patreon thing and what's wrong with Patreon at the moment, and probably why they banned Lauren Southern. You guys go ahead and check out The Independent Man. And the last one is Long Lost Ferg. Oh, I used to love to watch his videos, and then all of a sudden he kind of stopped making his videos and kind of dropped off the face of the earth. But the world of Ferg is back, and he's back on YouTube. You better hurry up. Canceling up my chat. Love it, guys. Love it. The world from Ferg. He presents things at a completely different angle, from a completely different perspective and point of view. Said before he stopped making content, I didn't miss a one. Yeah, his Under the Radar is very, very useful. Yeah, he does have that segment. Okay, so y'all go over there and subscribe to The World of Ferg. I think I got the wrong... Oh, I forgot to change my shilling links out. That's my link from Saturday. So those are our shout-outs. All right, so I've changed the programming up a bit. So I'm about to do facepalm moments in media, otherwise known as cringe articles. Particular is going to make everybody in the chat cringe, probably, just by the mere title alone, especially if you like history. This is from the Daily Wire. USA Today complains about lack of women and no lead actors of color in movie Dunkirk. Type 1 in the chat if you know what the movie is referring to and that it is a historical, it is based in history, however loosely. No, I am not fucking kidding. Yeah, I am not fucking kidding. That is the headline. Somebody is bashing USA Today. USA Today's Brian Truitt describes himself as a quote-unquote shameless geek, but oddly enough omits the fact he is also just as shamelessly ignorant when it comes to the signaling of his own correct think virtue. In his review of Dunkirk, director Christopher Nolan's big budget look, opening this weekend, at an actual historical event, and this was the 20th, this is dated back on July 20th, so it's already out. At an actual historical event that took place in the early days of World War II, Truitt offers potential ticket buyers, quote, the following trigger warning. Exactly, no name. The trio of timelines can be as jarring as you figure out how they all fit, and the fact that there are only a couple of women and no lead actors of color may rub someone the wrong way. Where in the world do these freaks come from? I'm reading it directly from the Daily Wire, and I have got no clue. Did Truitt do any homework about the background of this movie? Probably not. He does appear to know that Nolan's latest is based on a true story, which I guess is a start, but he probably learned that from the trailer. The real question, though, is how clueless about history, about the biggest world event of the 20th century are you when you find it jarring that Wesley Snipes doesn't show up to save the day, or that Sandra Bullock is not driving a tank that will explode if it goes under 50 miles an hour? I mean, has it gone this far? Have we really gone this far? Because some people don't understand comic book movies. This person apparently doesn't understand history. How can you sit there and bitch about the lack of diversity when in World War II era France, there was hardly ever any people of color? And I hate using that fucking phrase. Yeah, why is it played in this World War II movie? No, they don't care about history accuracy. No, they don't. Because we all know that Dunkirk, the evacuation of Dunkirk is, you know, was one hell of an event in World War II. I mean, when it took boats of any size, shape, speed, and use to go over to Dunkirk in France and pick up not only British soldiers but French soldiers to get them the hell out, because there was a tank brigade and infantry coming from Germany around the Maginot Line. That was one hell of an undertaking. It was one hell of an undertaking. And to try and minimalize it because there weren't enough minorities in the movie to make you happy, in my opinion, you need to take your head out of your ass. Because after the evacuation happened, France fell to Germany. And France, being France, denounced the Brits and totally forgot that the British actually saved French soldiers as well. I mean, really, come on. These people are getting more and more ridiculous every day. I don't think they're teaching this kind of history in school anymore. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have opened his damn mouth. It's like complaining about the lack of women and minority actors in a movie about Dunkirk is like complaining about the lack of Sinatra music in Straight Outta Compton, or wondering why Cancer failed to get equal time in Philadelphia, or hectoring Hollywood over the omission of realistic sex scenes in the Toy Story trilogy. This is a bit of a comparison, but it's kind of funny, but it's kind of accurate and sad at the same time. Right. Exactly. Exactly. We are back to me doing face-to-face. Let me go ahead and close this out. Okay. There are some announcements, and all these links are down below. Let me see. 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Magog has Magog Magic Monday, so that's one live stream to be looked out for. Miss Misa at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is having a 6th installment of her question and answer live stream. And Castreo is having his What's Up in Archeology this evening at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you guys are interested in that. We need to put them in simulated war scenarios. I mean, I hate to say this, but I want to, and you guys can disagree or agree with me in the live chat. I welcome this. You guys know this. This is what happens when you have Common Core. This is what happens when you teach children how to pass a test, not how to think critically, not about history, not what happened in history, and you give them participation trophies. They think they can bitch about anything and make sense, and everybody will agree with them. And the scary part is, since no one on that side does any meaningful research, there are going to be people that are going to jump on Truett's bandwagon and go, yes, why aren't there more minorities in that World War II movie? Yeah, no student left behind. This is what happened whenever, yeah, that's what I said. This is what happened when everyone gets a trophy. This is what happens when you institute Common Core. This is what happens when you institute Common Core. You cannot teach people how to pass a test. Yeah, it's a disaster in STEM. Yeah, in history, it is. If you want to educate the kids, you educate them. You don't worry about a curriculum. You don't worry about them passing a stupid test. Teach them. When you're teaching them about eras in history, teach them about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Don't erase the bad parts. We learn from our mistakes. And what are those mistakes? The mistakes are the wars, the mistakes that were made in the wars, what happened in those wars. Learn about who Hitler was, what he did, how he did it, his propaganda machine, why it was so successful. Taking those parts out because it hurts your feelings means you are erasing history. And we stand a chance of repeating history when we erase it and forget about it. We can't forget about history. We can't. It's what made our world the way it is today. My dad got left behind a lot, keeping students back, Common Core. Yeah. And see, the ironic part about the spirit of No Child Left Behind was it was supposed to set up free tutorial after-school lessons for children who were falling behind in classes. It wasn't supposed to be instituted to the point where the entire class got held back just because one kid didn't understand what was going on. They completely took the spirit of No Child Left Behind and twisted it so that everybody was left behind. Yeah, I completely agree. It's very ableist to show women in POC as regular people with flaws. Yeah, and it's just getting bad. It's getting really, really bad. I mean, I would rather watch a movie where the hero has flaws and character flaws and has to work through his mental demons in order to overcome problems than have somebody who is smart, who's capable of doing everything, who can't be stopped, who's invulnerable, because it doesn't make a good story. It really doesn't make a good story. In some cases, ignorance can be bliss, Wolfie. And apparently with SJWs it is. Apparently with SJWs it is. Well, I'm about to fill my mug, and I am filling it for the last time in this show. Not the last time, period, but for the last time in this newscast. Shorten that up here. Anyways, my friend, after the show, you can find me in the coffee club on my Discord. May your coffee ever flow. May your caffeine be ever strong. And may you guys have as marvelous a Monday as you can because, well, you know, it's Monday. What can you say? See you later, everybody.